Do you realize that when you get into a relationship with somebody with BPD, but you might not know that's happening, and you have codependency, but you might not be aware of that in the beginning? But looking back at it now, BPD relationship breakup, wherever you are with all this, the off and on again, the I can't go no contact, the really woundedness of all this, it's incredibly painful for people, and it's multi-layered, multifaceted. I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you, to help you in a healing and recovery process from the relationship breakup, the relationship, and codependency, and what happened in your childhood that got you into the relationship with Cluster B in the first place. None of this is happening in your conscious awareness, right? But what's really important to know about this is, so when you get idealized and or love bombed or whatever you want to call it by that borderline, well, I mean, personally, it's all about them. It's all about their need, right? But then people with codependency have a need for relationships as well. Some people with codependency have a hard time, some social anxiety, have difficulty approaching. Like, if you're a man, you might have some difficulty approaching women. Not all men do with codependency. But when the borderline woman comes or the borderline male for the female, or whatever the case may be, when they just come and they're just wanting to smack together, right? Like the Jerry Maguire quote, "You had me at hello." Or the other one from that movie. Oh, that movie was just like a codependent, I don't know what, on a stick. But quote, "You complete me," unquote. See, this is what can never happen between an untreated borderline or anybody with active BPD and a codependent who's untreated, is this "you complete me" thing, which is actually what people are hoping for in an unconscious way. Because the borderline is far from complete. As you know, they don't know self, they don't know who they are if they're untreated. And people with codependency, you don't know yourself as well maybe as you thought you did, because the part of self you know from up here doesn't speak to the wounded inner child in you and more, family of origin issues, etc. So, do you become the favorite person? Well, whether you actually get the label of favorite person or not, you get into the role of favorite person with a borderline. In a relationship, when you're the partner, of course, that can happen if you're a friend. It can happen in many other relationship types too. But when a borderline is keying in on somebody, and not in a conscious way, but when you're the one that they think is the greatest thing since sliced bread, until all of a sudden one day they put you on that pedestal only to rip you painfully off it. And you're like, what is going on here? What happened? And people are years after the fact of these things happening to them. The ghosting and the BPD relationship breakup, or however it happens, people are years out sometimes when they contact me to work with me because they can't take the pain anymore. And make no mistake about it, you get into these relationships because you have codependency, because you have your own unresolved childhood issues that in an unconscious way lead you into this what feels so amazing, smack together with a borderline who doesn't know themselves. Usually they're untreated. They're not all the same, but many of them have their own patterns, but many have a pattern of, just going from one to the other relationship, some more so than others. But the bottom line is you sort of become like the favorite person, whether they identify you as that or not, because then it becomes, for the person with untreated BPD, unbeknownst to you, this "I gotta have your attention, I need you 24/7. What do you mean you gotta go to work? What do you mean you'd rather spend time with a friend? What do you mean you're going to be 10 minutes late? Because they don't have any reference for self. They don't have any reference for other. That would be you. And so what's really going on? It's like you're the favorite person, and that's not a good thing. Favorite person is just another object other. It's just somebody taking the place of somebody that they have unresolved issues with, big time, adverse experience from childhood with. So if you were a partner, if you were a significant other, if you still are, if it's on again, on, off again, recycling, you want to be hoovered, you're hoovering, can't stop looking at the social media, you really need to get into therapy. That's the one action step to take. And like I said, if I resonate with you, I'm out here to help you, because you can't help yourself out of this. Trust me. People have tried. People try other people's, try this thing, that thing, the other thing, 12-step groups. That's not the way to get the healing and recovery work done. It's family of origin, it's inner child healing, and many more aspects to it than that. So if you think you might be the favorite person, watch out. Or if you think you were. And the other thing too is these are trauma bonded relationships. Please refer to my podcast episode I put up on this channel. If you haven't listened to that yet, it will really benefit you to do so, because these trauma bonded connections aren't love. And when the breakup happens with many an untreated borderline, it's going to happen really quickly. It's going to blindside you. And then you still want to get back who you thought they were. And then people go, but I can't go no contact. I can't stop thinking about them. The rumination is horrible. People think all of this is driven by addiction. It's not. It's driven by trauma. And trauma that comes from your childhood, as well as trauma from the relationship with the person with BPD. But whether you're seen as favorite person as well as boyfriend, girlfriend, or if you got married and you were husband or wife, make no mistake about this. People with BPD have no self from which to actually connect to you, attach to you, really see or hear you. They need you to show them who they are. They need you to reflect back to them the lost self, the lack of identity. Something that people with BPD untreated cannot just switch off, cannot just act as if or opposite of, or ask the question, what would Jesus do, or what would Buddha do? No, they need years of therapy in which this can be healed and recovered from. And that therapy is a psychodynamic modality, by the way, not DBT. DBT is a great place for them to start. The bottom line is, if you have codependency and you're feeling like, are you telling yourself, well, I gotta get them back? I gotta get them back? They need to be who I needed them to be, who I fell in love with, who I thought they were? What are you going to do? Because people with codependency have learned in early childhood, through painful experience of their own, to not want to be alone in many cases, to not want to be out of a relationship in many cases, and to not want to have to deal with your original core pain that created codependency that led you to the borderline. But there is no love where there is abuse. And there is abuse where there is a trauma bond. And sometimes it isn't just from the person with BPD. Sometimes it's coming back from the person with codependency. Whatever the case is, though, you need to get yourself into therapy, because that's the only way to heal and recover from these relationships. And if you're still telling yourself, well, I can't go no contact, I don't feel ready, I can't stop looking at the social media. Believe me, I understand. No judgment here. But all those statements you're making, you're blocking your own way, and you're increasing your suffering with I can't statements that really mean you won't. But it might feel like you really can't. But you can make a different choice, and you will need to at some point. But make no mistake about this. Even if you go full no contact, even if you feel like you're moving on, it takes therapy to break that trauma bond.